All right, let's move straight to our next conversation, where the rhetoric about the collapse of the national grid no longer surprises anyone due to its recurring nature. Just when the Investigative Committee on National Grid Collapse submitted its report to the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, the grid collapsed again this Thursday. The chairman of the committee said the report conducted identified poor maintenance culture and outdated equipment, high voltage exceeding the capacity of equipment as key factors contributing to frequent collapses of the national power grid. Now let's share this story with you.
The collapse of the national grid is becoming more frequent lately. In 2024 alone, the entire country has been thrown into darkness at least 10 times. Government says it is working to find sustainable solutions. Just recently, electricity regulator NARC hosted leading actors to a fact-finding mission on the state of the nation's grid. The outcome of that engagement forms the crux of a report by the 7-man committee tasked with the responsibility of profiling solutions. The committee formally presents its report to the minister. The report talks about the recent system failures and identifies a number of factors responsible. These include obsolete equipment, energy theft, human capacity deficiency, vandalism, and non-availability of generating units. It recommends short, medium, and long-term solutions, one of which is increased investment in the nation's power grid.
Maintenance culture is also an issue, and the relaying philosophy, we need to check that, the settings, the coordination, and of course, the underlying cost, which is high voltage in Jeba. Not just Jeba, there are other nodes that are prone to high voltage, and Jeba is one of them.
Just before deliberations went into a closed door, the minister announced that the amended recommendations from the meeting will be presented to President Bola Tinubu for immediate action. Adebayo Adelabu says the federal government is poised to finding a lasting solution to the power crisis.
We are going to subject this to discussions, to conversations, even to objective criticism, because all these have financial implications and must be so recognized for inclusion in the 2025 budget. But we will not wait till then before we start implementation. Whatever we can actually cover within our 2024 budget now, and even if possible a supplementary budget, because this is a national issue and must be so addressed.
Other recommendations by the committee include develop framework and adopt reliability-centered maintenance, replacement of aged and outdated equipment, development framework that attracts private investment across value chain, as well as end energy theft and vandalism. Joke Edsa, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, BKO, I feel embarrassed. For the 10th time, or how many times this year now? 11 times. This issue of national grid, it's no more a surprise. But now that they've submitted the committee report and also the recommendation, is the solution to constant grid collapse, is it on the horizon here?
If people go back and listen to what listen to our discussion on
yes,
the current national grid collapse. Some of the things we are talking about here, we've talked about them repeatedly. That the infrastructure is old.
Yeah.
Some of them as old as 60 years. There's a need for constant investment in transmission infrastructure. This is not some of the things. When I read some of what
the recommendations,
I'm saying, these are things we've said here.
Exactly.
I can play back those things.
Exactly.
Dating back to as far as 5 years ago, we've been talking about these things.
Wow.
Yes. So it's not that no one knows what these problems are. The issue is how are we tackling what the problems are? Are we decidedly tackling the issues?
Or we're just talking?
And you know, every time there's grid collapse, people think it's only power outage that results from it. Every time there's grid collapse, there is a backlash on equipment. I fear for our turbines, especially given the rate at which
it is
we are experiencing
exactly.
this collapse. I fear for our turbines. And given the exchange rate, given what it is now, to even carry out repairs has become far more expensive. So there's a need for us to address these problems. I talked about the fact that we have only one place in Nigeria where we repair transformers, and it's Lagos.
No other place.
I said there's a need to set up transformer repair centers across the 6 geopolitical zones. I talked about that, I think, about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because what is the point allowing this system failure? The one that happened in the middle of October, they told us it was a transformer that caused it. And now we've been told that, something happened in Jeba. There was a surge. And then, and that Jeba, by topography, this sort of thing will always happen. It is the same electricity roadmap that India used that we are using. Singapore used the same thing. It delivered success in India. We are unable to deliver success in Nigeria. Basically the same electricity roadmap. Go and read it out. We are unable to solve these problems. We came up with the idea of Band A without a structural wherewithal to ensure its success. And we're having all kinds of problems. When there is an issue, there is a need to promptly address it. There must be a time-scaled response. When you do not have that, you can have system failure. In the past, we were told vandalism was a big factor for vandalism of transmission infrastructure was a big factor behind.
Especially the blackout in the north.
Yes. We were also told that inadequate gas supply to power plants caused system failure in the past. Because we have the bulk of our electricity generating infrastructure are gas-fired. Now, gas is produced in the south-south, far away from a lot of our power plants. Along the way, they can actually breach, these boys can break a gas pipeline, ensuring that supply of gas does not get to the
facility.
Now, if at a given time you do not have optimum gas supply to go around the power plants, it can trigger system failure because they will not be able to generate enough. And you must generate up to a threshold.
Exactly.
If you do not generate up to a threshold,
it will.
So there are all kinds of problems. I do not think that at this stage that we don't know what the problems are. Of course we know. Because we too have talked about some of those things that they were talking about. Poor maintenance, culture, aging infrastructure. We talked about these things in the past.
So it's about tackling the issue, not just talking about.
Without wasting time. Addressing a problem with the desire to ensure that that problem does not rear its head again. That is one problem we have in our country. It's not that we don't know what our problems are. Do you, for example, want to tell me that we don't know that we need to do a lot more in the area of electoral integrity?
We know.
But where is the
will,
the
zeal,
the political
will to do it,
and zeal to do it? If it's not there, the problem will remain. It's the same thing with this power sector. Then, cause they are not investing enough to improve the business.
Okay.
These costs are not investing enough. The entire 3 layers has issues. I do not subscribe to the idea that, we must blame the discourse alone.
All three of them.
I can analyze how each of those 3 legs, because it's a relay, as I always say.
Okay.
I can analyze how each of the 3 legs is not doing enough for us to get out of the woods.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we need to go on this quick break. And when we return, I'm going to be asking, because I outlined some of the problems, should we be thinking of a state of emergency in the power sector? But we'll get back to that after this break. Don't go anywhere. Still Journalist Hangout. All right, if you just joined us, it's still Journalist Hangout. I still have Ibinapo Dixon and BKO. So Ibinapo, before we went on that break, I asked you. Now, Standard Trust Bank, the Standard Bank said in August that Nigeria loses $26 billion annually due to our power struggles. Should we be thinking of a state of emergency in the power sector?
Well, that is long overdue because we have had, if we could experience 11 grid collapses in
2024.
So you can imagine. And the worst hit are the SMEs.
True.
And the SMEs are the engine room of every thriving economy.
Exactly.
So whatever happens and hurts the SMEs is actually hurting the economy. So it is imperative that whatever has to be done should be done, because the way it is, it's almost like the power sector is heading to a total collapse. Let us not wake up someday and they tell us that this collapse, we're going to have to wait for months before it will be revived. Because it has collapsed for the optimum time.
Exactly.
Let's not deceive ourselves. And another thing is, why can't we embrace renewable energy
source?
We have the, what's it called now? The biomass. We have the solar.
I don't know. Solar, especially in the north.
Yes.
I was thinking,
So we should diversify. We are so in the habit of
gas.
One way. When we are going on a journey, we face that journey until, God forbid, we are destroyed. So there is need to really look
I think we can get it from coal as well.
Yes.
I think some countries actually use coal.
Yes.
For their energy.
Exactly.
They use
coal.
So why can't we diversify? Why are we just, and then in some other places...
South Africa relies
on coal.
In some other
more than 40,000
Exactly. In some other countries, we have just a national grid. In other countries, they have multiple grids.
So you're talking about decentralizing
the
grid.
Maybe the pressure will be taken away from the national grid and it will be well shared among other grids if they can do that. Because if we continue like this, someday, it's like Yoruba say dakudaji.
Exactly.
You die, you wake up, you die, you wake up. Someday you will die, and it will not be easy to revive you. So it's sad.
BK also mentioned the fact that these machines are going off and on. It's affecting the machine.
Yes,
because it's coming back up.
And unfortunately, like BKO said, we know the problems.
Why are we not tackling the issue?
The intention to solve the problem, being deliberate about solving the problem, is the issue. And if you look at the DISCOs, the GENCOs, every whatever, all hands synchronized to supply energy, there is this common thing I see in all of them. They are all about profit. When you are running a business, you allow this business to thrive, to at least have its footing properly before you start thinking about profit. So the problems are so enormous that sometimes I look at the minister and I feel like, which one is he going to solve actually? Because you are looking at, we shouldn't, lose sight of vandals.
Exactly.
There is the issue of vandalism. That is also another problem. So the problem is hydra-headed.
Let's talk solutions now. BKO, states now have a right to, the other powers to now generate. Now, the states showing willingness to power up their states.
Yeah, they are showing interest. Some of them actually built power plants that the entire country is now enjoying. You know, what the law says is that when you generate above a threshold, I think 50 megawatts or so, it is fed into the national grid. You can imagine, I know states that built power plants of their own. Akwa Ibom is one of those states.
Okay.
Bukola Saraki, the power plant that was abandoned in Gomo in Kwara State, Bukola Saraki brought back the contractors because a new government came and they just abandoned the IPPs. Wow. He came and brought them back on site and they completed the project. Today, when they generate electricity, it's fed into the national grid. It's not actually used up. It is from the, when it's fed into the national grid, they then determine what you get as a state that built the power plant.
Oh dear.
That is why people asked for a decentralization of
the grid.
This whole thing. Let states be able to generate their own power.
Yes.
You know, and I think that the president signed that bill into law now. So states will be able to generate, even distribute their own power. I can see what the governor of Enugu is doing now. It's groundbreaking. So that will help us. And then allied with the use of other sources of energy.
Okay.
Brazil relies heavily on
hydro.
South Africa,
coal,
consistently more than 40,000 megawatts. Coal. Mozambique, I once visited Mozambique, and I discovered that even from Mozambique, they are selling electricity to neighboring South Africa, and they use a lot of hydro too. Egypt has more electricity than it needs. Egypt is planning to sell electricity to European countries.
Really?
Yes, countries close to it like Cyprus, for example. So, but look at where we are, the so-called giant of Africa, struggling to do 4,000 megawatts. If Nigeria does 5,700 megawatts, for example, it will trigger a shutdown. Maybe the next day you just hear that there is grid collapse. So we need to do things and plan properly. As I said earlier, where is the technical backup for the Band A project? We want to take so much money from people. Where is the technical backup that ensures that these high-end users who are paying so much money that at every point you do not fail them? That's the thing. So there are things that we need to do. The minister is one person. There is a need to bring everyone together. Look at what Professor Bat Naji has done with Aba Power.
Yeah, Aba Power.
Is that someone that we still need at the national stage? And there are people who had worked within the power sector
that can be brought in.
Bring in experts, technical experts who can help this minister because he's a banker. He has limited knowledge of the sector. These are not the things that some people like to hear or say. Bawi, Aku, Baku, Onulanlo. So there is a need to say the truth. Some are suggesting that, oh, maybe this is sabotage. I don't know. But if my knowledge of a sector is sufficient, you will try to sabotage me. Before you take 2 steps, I will have taken 4. Where you are going, I will know. It's just like a good drafts player. If you know how to play drafts. As you are giving someone something to eat, give him that one, give him this one. He knows what you are planning. Exactly. He can see where you want,
where you're going,
and he can then set his own trap for you.
Exactly.
So, yes, there could be sabotage, but we need to put the right people.
Okay.
And the president still has the time to look at that sector, because we cannot have economic growth
without
development without consistent power.
Exactly.
How do you do it?
Exactly.
All of these SMEs that are the engines of growth, they rely on power, electricity.
All right. Okay, gentlemen, let's move straight to